So don't worry about the stinger, Tiana cancelled, etc. It's not really what we're talking about. What we're actually talking about is Disney admitting failure and restructuring their entire Disney Plus as a result of that. Tiana is just, again, it sounds super lame. It matters. It matters. Tiana was an animated movie that they started about 4 years ago. Animated series, sorry, 4 years ago. To reshuffle things around, loads of new creatives. And as a result of them basically admitting defeat, they've fired multiple of the staff that were working on it. It's like 4 years of work down the drain, and it's just been cancelled. That'd be millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars completely down the drain. And it's all part of Disney abandoning long-form streaming content. That's actually huge. Tiana, don't worry about the Tiana part. It's the fact that they're abandoning long-form streaming content.
Yep.
Major. I mean, it's not a surprise. They spent like $100 million on these things. Like, you can't be doing that. Like, there's a cap for how many people are going to subscribe to your service. They weren't making money. So yeah, pretty huge thing, to be honest, that this has gone on now. So the Hollywood Reporter says this. It just says, yeah, Walt Disney Animation Studios has officially pulled the plug on its Tiana Princess series as it abandons making original long-form content for streaming. That's a big thing. That's Bob Iger going, yeah, it's not making any money. Like, they might make something, I don't know, in future, but it's a pretty big change. A spokesperson confirmed there will be some layoffs in its Vancouver studio as a result in the shift of business strategy. In addition to the Tiana series, the studio is also scrapping an unannounced feature-length project that was set to go straight to Disney Plus as well. So Tiana was first announced in 2020 and was envisioned as a musical featuring Annika Noni Rose reprising her role as Tiana, who was did The Princess and the Frog. And that's the first Disney Black princess, apparently. Now, this studio was the studio behind Moana 2 as well. So even a studio that is profitable for Disney, they can still get fired. Like, that's stuff. This is huge. The sources close to the streaming series say that despite best efforts, including several changes to the creative team, it shouldn't happen. It doesn't make any sense. Tiana ultimately could not get to where it needed to be given production costs. How did you spend 4 years on something, multiple creative teams, and it just wasn't working? Are you all actually brain dead? What is going on? So the animation studio is said to be developing separate short form special content inspired by The Princess and the Frog. And that's kind of what they're trying to do now. They're trying to go to short form content instead. But this is big stuff. This is big stuff, not a small.
So, can I ask, what is the definition of short form versus long form? I mean, because for me, long form means really quite. So, what does this really mean, though? So, like, no feature length stuff or 30 minutes? What's their definition of long and short form?
Well, if they're abandoning long form streaming content, that means that they're getting away from making made for streaming what normally would have been theatrical features. They are going to, despite the fact that this was supposed to be a television program that they've tried twice on or something, I don't even know. But they may go down to the successful things that are being done with programs like Bluey. That little cartoon dog. Those segments are only 8 minutes long. So who knows, though? I mean, they could be talking out one side of their ear hole on this. They just may not be producing half-hour series via animation anymore. Disney's had a lot of struggles when it comes to producing things for streaming. Instead of relying on their huge content catalog that they have acquired that would be suitable for children, they have tried to reinvent the wheel. and that this is biting them in the ass every single time. I mean, seriously, they tried this twice. They tried to produce this thing twice. It did not work. They spent an enormous amount of money on it and time.
Yes, I mean, they've spent so much money on their streaming stuff. I mean, each of their Marvel and Star Wars shows are like $200+ million. I mean, that's just mental.
It doesn't work.
That's movie budget stuff. It's insane. And again, to anyone in the chat that's like, "Oh, you're talking about a show for 5-year-olds," no, you're looking at this completely wrong. We're not talking about the show. We're talking about the cancellation and the news around the show. That is actually quite big news. They're having to restructure their entire Disney Plus business. That's massive. I'm not talking about the show for 10-year-olds or whatever. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what this represents, which is a restructure of their business, an admission that it's not working. That's big stuff. That's not small. That's
the future
pretty big.
of the Disney itself, the battle for the heart and soul of what Disney is. Right, that's a big thing. It's one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, and what it is, what it does, is morphing and changing, or it's sort of dying. And I hope it does. I think the world would be. I honestly think the world would be better off without Disney in it now. Right, when you go back to early Disney, it was great. It was a wonderful thing. It was a force for sort of wonderment and enchantment, and it was good. It was a good thing, and now it's not. Now it's sort of a cancer. And yeah, hopefully again it will die.
Well, I mean, it is a cancer, and I think to be fair, Disney's going to have to pull up stakes on a lot of things that they've kind of embedded themselves with when it comes to DEI, ESG, and all those other things that they were in pursuit of. And the fact that they're going to try to hide with Bridge, like Microsoft's going to try and do, is just going to prove their undoing. But that's not even it. It's the fact that, as Nate pointed out, they're having to rethink everything when it comes to streaming. So it's going to be a real problem going forward for them, and I don't know how to solve it. What an unfortunate way for me to freeze on screen.
I only just noticed that. Yeah, if someone, just imagine if I was parachuted in to be like at the top of Disney, I would just go back to making feature-length movie, like just go back to the old paradigm, making feature-length, high-quality animated stories that were wholesome and enchanting. It's not that difficult. I don't think it's that difficult. You're trying to like corner the streaming market with DEI characters or whatever, or making so much product that people don't want. Like, it's pretty clear. But well, there you go.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's an interesting one. It's pretty major. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forwards with. I mean, Netflix has won the streaming wars. Like 100%, Netflix has won. Whether that's good or bad, and they are good or bad, it's subjective, isn't it? Really, but they have come out on top. So I'll be intrigued to see what happens, because I remember Max. What was HBO? Now it was Max, isn't it? I remember Max and Disney were trying to get some like package deals together and stuff like that to sort of bundle up their content in one streaming service and all this other kind of stuff. I think in a few years' time, like I reckon in a decade, right? Which is a really long time, I get that, but I reckon in a decade we'll see some of these streaming platforms completely just folded into one another, and it'll just be like one mega platform. But then by then it's just cable, isn't it? So what's the point? By then it's just yeah, I don't know. And they're so expensive now as well. These things are well expensive. Keep putting up and removing features like Amazon Prime. They've increased it, and then they've given you adverts, and you're like, You fucking what? So I'm paying more money now to watch adverts that you're getting more money from as well? Piss off.
And also, is it me, or it's just like the reality of piracy, right? So we're going to be honest about piracy.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when there's something good that comes out that everyone agrees is good and worth watching, a lot of people that haven't even subscribed and pay regularly for like the correct thing, they'll still get a copy of it somehow, right?
Yeah.
The new thing that comes out, you can see it for free if you just wait a little while. You can go on some. Oh, sorry, Culture. Just to finish. You can go on some website somewhere or other, and it'll be hosted there. So, sorry, you go, Culture. Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to say no, but do you really think there are people out there that are going to pirate this garbage?
Right, yeah, it's not even worth pirating. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at now. I mean, you can actually tell whether something is whether something is doing well or not by whether or not it's tracking in the piracy sites, right? If you go sail the 7 seas looking to, for something to watch and navigate to, oftentimes there's not enough seeds to find things that are, currently in theaters because there's no interest to see them. That's how the piracy game works. If something's under high demand and people can't afford it, well, they'll find a way to get it. Well, if something is not in high demand and nobody's interested in seeing it, people aren't even posting it or bothering to share it. It's pretty bad. So, and that's been happening quite a bit to modern films these days. It's like, if you look at the business side of the equation, it's actually bad news. That manga is actually the most pirated thing now. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I can believe that. They also do long series as well, right? So yeah, makes sense. Anyway, there you go. We will move on from this now.